Alright, good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to be continuing our coverage on this winter storm that will be impacting much of the central and eastern US. As you can see here, looking at the National Weather Service alerts map, much of the central US and soon to be a good portion of the northeastern half of the United States, or a quarter of the United States, will be filled in by winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings eventually, most likely for parts of New England, as well as possibly northern Pennsylvania. So we're going to walk through timing and then get to snowfall amounts, and then that will be it. So if you want to see more videos like this in the future here on the channel, feel free to subscribe, as we will have many more videos throughout the coming months about just storms like these and obviously other storms impacting the area. So let's start off with timing. So we're going to look at the latest run of the high resolution NAM. This is actually the 4 a.m. run, so it's pretty new information. As you can see, our storm is starting to come together really in the south central plains. We have some rain across southern plains in Texas and Oklahoma, and a mix of precip across Kansas right now. As we work our way into the late morning hours and into the early afternoon, this storm is really going to blossom into a large system. As you can see, we have blizzard warnings up. This is just a classic location where you see blizzard warnings, because this is actually the area of the U.S. that sees the most blizzards out of any region, and that would be the Dakotas, the northern plains, and that's where blizzard warnings lie. They're not going to see too much snow, but for a blizzard warning, you really don't need that much snow. But anyways, continuing into Friday night, we're going to see that snow continue to make its way into Wisconsin, as well as parts of Illinois like Chicago, Indiana, northern Indiana especially, and then into Michigan eventually, as we will have a wintry mix of precip out in central Illinois and eventually central Indiana, and that will continue to work its way east and northeast, as we will have, of course, that warmer air funneling into the system from the south as that low continues to make its way northeast. Now here's where it begins to impact our area here in PA, as most of you are watching from PA. Starting Saturday morning, now it looks like we are going to have a 1 to 2 hour period of probably actually more like 2 to 3 hour period of snow as this line of snow goes through Saturday morning. So this is looking at 6 a.m. Saturday morning. You can see it's in the Laurel Highlands as well as much of the northwestern PA mountains, into Erie and locations around there. Working our way into mid-Saturday morning. This is now 9 a.m. You can see that's made its way east into the lower Susquehanna Valley, up into State College, and also north central PA. So, after this goes through, many of you are probably going to be wondering, okay, well, what's going on? Because this is just modeled by just about everything, that there's actually going to be a lull in precipitation, and this is probably what's going to cut down snowfall amounts. If this whole area was filled in with snow instead of nothing at all, we'd probably see, a good few inches more than we're expecting to see in much of central PA and eastern PA. As you can see, that works its way east, so by the time we get into about 1 p.m., this area of snow will be into Scranton, Allentown, and then making its way into northern Jersey. And then after that, you can see that snow is expected to change over to sleet. So this is what I mean. You have the sleet line about in the Laurel Highlands right now. This is at noontime Saturday. So if you had all this, white space fill in with snow, you'd easily see, 3 to 5 inches in south central PA. But that's not looking to be the case. So working our way into Saturday afternoon now, you can see that moderate snowfall continues to make its way into upstate New York as well as southern New England. And that area of nothing really actually does fill in now with sleet, though, because upper level temperatures, we're going to have a layer at about the 800 millibar level. This is probably going to be a little bit warmer because it's beyond that, but you can see this is a sounding. It's probably a little bit more too technical for many of you, but you can see after this red line passes this dashed line, that's pretty much temperatures above freezing, and you can see that is between about 850 millibars and 800 millibars. So that's where our warm layer is. If this red line stayed to the left of this dashed line, we'd be looking at much more snow, but that's once again not looking to be the case. Now, for parts of New York State and much of New England, they are not expected to change over to any sleet or rain, and as a result, of course, they'll see some higher snowfall totals, as we will look at in a second. and then wrapping it up already, 8, 9 p.m., probably much of Pennsylvania should be done with this. Now, we will see some decent lake effect work its way into western PA, as that, of course, a cold front follows this, and temperatures will plummet. So, this is going to be a pretty cold storm as far as temperatures. So many times this season we've seen, marginal temperatures where it's snowing at 33, 34 degrees. Well, it doesn't look to be the case. As you can see, temperatures are going to be in the low 20s as this snow begins in much of the area. Excluding western PA, they'll probably be in the mid to upper 20s, but temperatures are going to be slowly lifting towards freezing. And there's a chance that, many of these sheltered valleys in central and eastern PA may not even get above freezing. So if we do see a period of, a long freezing rain event or a long sleet event, of course that can add up, and freezing rain would be much bigger concern. But really the issue for us as far as, having more of an impact, and that's not really an issue, but it's just the amount of precip looks to be kind of lacking, and you can see why. We're going to have this big area of, you could call it a dry slot, just nothing for a few hours to begin Saturday morning across much of the state. And then, after this, you see all these areas in New York State and New England are seeing, their snow, and we just have once again another dry slot. Now, I wouldn't really call this a dry slot because precip has already moved out, but this would be a much bigger and more significant storm if we received, of course, more precipitation. And, that's common sense, but especially since temperatures are going to be hanging below freezing for much of the event. So if we do end up seeing a long period of freezing rain, of course, then that could result in power outages just because winds are going to be gusting upwards of 40 miles, 30, 40 miles an hour throughout much of the day on Saturday. So that could cause problems in locations like the Laurel Highlands, as we do expect them to see a longer period of freezing rain. Finally, let's get into our snow totals, not just looking at PA, but for much of the Northeast. We posted our snowfall forecast, and then this is the National Weather Service map, but it's pretty similar to ours. And this is through the 19th. So this is actually through, I believe, Sunday afternoon. So this is including the lake effect, but you can see much of southern PA is probably going to see 1 to 3 inches as you work your way above I-76. You're getting into that 2 to 4 inch range, and then north of Allentown State College, 4 to 6 inches looking most likely. Higher amounts in northwest PA where that lake effect really kicks in Saturday night and Sunday morning, as that will really turn into the main event for those areas. I wouldn't be surprised if those regions pick up a good 4 to 8 inches of lake effect snow. And then for New York State, you're looking at 4 to 8 inches across much of central and eastern New York State, really much of the state. New York City probably looking at an inch or two, and then southern New England, most of New England really, besides the extreme southern coast, looking at a 4 to 8 inch type event. So that's how the storm is looking. Once again, this has just been the trend this year that these huge storms, maybe not huge, but these big systems turn into relatively moderate events. We're not looking at a major event here in the Northeast. This is just a moderate event. Now, however, it's a pretty large event, so, you could call it a pretty big storm, but because it will be impacting much of the central and eastern U.S. really. But where do we go from here? If you're still watching the video, maybe you're interested in that, as the much advertised pattern change is really coming with this storm, as we talked about. Well, pretty much, typical of winter 2019-2020, the pattern change is looking to be not as significant as it was previously modeled, and this pattern really looks like it's going to moderate. Now we're going to have times of below average temps followed by times of above average temps, probably around the 24th, 25th, and then maybe we'll get some cold around the 20, really late month, but it's just not looking like we're going to be locked into an extremely cold pattern. And that's actually, I would say that's decent news, just because we often when we get into extremely cold patterns, it really is typically just dry. You get dry and cold conditions. And personally, I'd rather, if you're not going to get any snow, I'd rather be at least somewhat comfortable here in the coldest month of the year. And you're also opening up the door for storms to, of course, make their way up, whether it's the central U.S., eastern U.S., up the coast, instead of being suppressed to the south. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't look to be an issue for this potential storm around the 25th. just because that could be probably cutting up in the central US, and believe it or not, wouldn't be surprised if we actually get rain out of this system on the 25th. Yes, January 25th, and here we are, good chance we get a rain event across much of the East Coast. So, wish I could bring better news, but that's just how it is. But for now, I guess let's just, if you're a snow lover, let's just kind of enjoy this system and then see where we can go from there. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. But for now, goodbye.